Well, street-level MCU Spider-Man is now completely confirmed, according to the headline of this article by Forbes. And Tom Holland, in an interview, did talk about Spider-Man Brand New Day. He talked about how they are filming it, what they're doing right now. And yeah, it does sound like this is indeed going to be a street-level Spider-Man film. And a lot of people are also thinking right now that Shang-Chi might show up in Spider-Man Brand New Day. And this thinking does have merit behind it, especially if you look at this photo right here that was shared online, a photo of Shang-Chi's star Simu Liu and our Spider-Man Tom Holland playing pickleball together. But we'll get into that in just a bit. Now, we pretty much knew that Spider-Man Brand New Day was heading towards being a street-level grounded film when they announced that The Punisher is indeed going to be in this film. That is confirmed, and we've also heard by the same people who originally reported that The Punisher was going to be in this movie. We've heard that the Hulk is going to be in this movie as well. And from what we've heard from several different insiders at this point, it sounds like the Hulk is going to be kind of a villain of the film, because we're hearing that The Punisher and Spider-Man are going to team up to take on the Hulk. But of course, it's probably going to end with the Hulk calming down and reverting back to Bruce Banner. But I think the main thing that they're going to try and establish in this film, since it comes out right before Avengers Doomsday, is the Savage Hulk returning. We've talked about that a lot on the channel. It seems like this is Marvel's plan because they've been listening to everybody and they know fans want savage, angry, mad, crazy Hulk back, the same one that we had in the first Avengers film. And it seems like they're finally listening, especially after a lot of fans said that they really do want a grounded street-level Spider-Man film, because based on what Tom Holland said in this interview, it certainly does sound like that's what we're getting. Here's what he said.
Obviously, over the moon and so excited. Playing Spider-Man is like hanging out with an old pal. And I think we were really restricted with what we could do in the last movie because of COVID. We shot the entire film on stages. And now we're really going to lean into that old school filmmaking and shoot in real locations, which is why we're starting in Glasgow. And we're going to use the streets of Glasgow for this massive set piece that we're putting together. So it's going to feel like making Spider-Man 1 again. You know, it's been such a long time since I've done it. It's going to feel like a breath of fresh air. And I think the fans are going to be over the moon with what we're putting together.
Amazing.
Well, that last sentence that he said makes me feel good. He thinks fans are going to be over the moon with what they are currently putting together right now. And a movie with Spider-Man, the Punisher, the Hulk, and possibly Shang-Chi as well, yeah, that's going to be super cool. Even if it just ends up being Spider-Man and the Punisher and some Spider-Man villains, that's going to be insanely cool as well. But what he said about the set pieces are what confirms that this movie really isn't going to be one giant CGI fest. Now, of course, we're going to have to get the swinging and stuff like that, and there is going to be CGI in the movie, of course, but they're building giant set pieces. He actually used the word massive. And he says they're doing old school filming, old school shooting, and are going to use real locations. And keep in mind, the director of this film is Destin Daniel Cretton, the director of Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. The fighting choreography in that movie, the stunt sequences, everything with the fight scenes in that film were fantastic. That is actually one of my favorite Marvel movies just ever now because of how good it is. So hopefully the director is going to bring that to this film as well, and they're also getting one of the stunt coordinators from Shang-Chi to be a part of Spider-Man Brand New Day as well. So right now, Spider-Man has a lot going for it. A lot is set up for him to have an amazing fourth film. But I still do think that even though this movie is probably going to be mostly street level and mostly grounded, I do think that they're going to have to tie into Doctor Doom at least a little bit, or at least into the collapse of the multiverse. Maybe the other two Spider-Mans show back up at the end of the film. And let's not forget about Sadie Sink's character. Right now, it's kind of a mystery. We don't know who she is playing, and we've had many different reports about who she could be playing. We've heard that she could be playing Mary Jane, an actual Mary Jane Watson, not a Michelle Jones Watson, which the president of Marvel Studios, Kevin Feige, did confirm it is not the same character as Mary Jane Watson. So she very well could be playing Mary Jane Watson, but of course we've also heard that she could be playing playing Spider-Gwen or Black Cat, but my personal favorite report that we've heard, which I want to be true, is that she's actually going to be playing Mayday Parker, the daughter of Peter Parker and Mary Jane Watson, but obviously not our Peter Parker because he's still very young, and even if he had a baby in the last film, she would still be a baby. But we've heard, and this is coming from the Hot Mic podcast, that she could be playing Mayday Parker, but specifically be the daughter of Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, which I think would be absolutely epic, and this is a great way to tie in Tobey Maguire Spider-Man to Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars. The same thing goes for Andrew Garfield Spider-Man. Because we know that Tobey Maguire Spider-Man is going to return. Marvel would be absolutely crazy if they didn't get him back and they didn't have him on screen with Wolverine, Hugh Jackman's Wolverine specifically, and Robert Downey Jr. in some way, shape, or form as Iron Man. We're pretty sure we're also going to get a RDJ cameo as an Iron Man variant, but even if we just got a scene with Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, and Robert Downey Jr. as Doctor Doom, it would still be pretty dang epic. Now, as far as Shang-Chi appearing in Spider-Man Brand New Day, we haven't really heard any reports about this. Not recently, that is. However, there is a pretty big precedence for this in the comics. Plus, not to mention, again, Destin Daniel Cretton is directing this film, and he directed Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, and he was supposed to be directing Shang-Chi 2. And Marvel hasn't really told us anything about Shang-Chi 2 as of late. It very well could be coming between Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars, but there are other films as well that could come, like a Doctor Strange 3, a Scarlet Witch movie, Thor 5, so we really don't know at this point in time. Shang-Chi 2 could have been pushed back to after Avengers Secret Wars, and something they could be doing instead to get Shang-Chi involved more with the overall MCU story to have him appear in Avengers Doomsday is to bring him in Spider-Man Brand New Day. And Marvel has the chance right now to do a really cool story in the MCU involving Shang-Chi and Bruce Banner, because remember in the post-credit scene for Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, Shang-Chi was with Wong and he technically met Bruce Banner and Carol Danvers, but it was through holograms. But there is a connection there, and there's also a connection to Spider-Man in the comics, and the comic readers, I think you probably know where I'm going with this, Spider Island, where during the story, Spider-Man actually loses his Spidey sense. So he goes to Shang-Chi for martial arts training, and together they create what is called the Way of the Spider, which is essentially a fighting style that is a combination of Peter's fighting style and Shang-Chi's martial arts. I think it would be insane if they incorporated this into the film, and I think there's actually a great way to connect it all, since Shang-Chi is working with Wong right now, and since Wong is the Sorcerer Supreme and he's in New York, where we assume Spider-Man is going to be, with the Punisher and with the Hulk, it would make sense that Wong would know if Bruce Banner kind of went off the deep end and the Hulk returned. And we get sort of a situation that is very similar to Thor Ragnarok, where the Hulk is out and can't be calmed down. He can't come back. Bruce Banner can't come back, that is. But given the events that are about to go down in Avengers Doomsday, perhaps Wong is a little busy. Plus, we don't really know what Doctor Strange is up to right now. At the end of Multiverse of Madness, he went off with Clea. So perhaps Wong gets involved in that, or perhaps he has other things that he's doing. But he is probably aware, since he is the Sorcerer Supreme. So perhaps he talks to Shang-Chi, and instead of having him go fight the Hulk, he actually tells him, hey, since you're kind of new to this and Spider-Man fought with the Avengers before, maybe you should just help Spider-Man with his fighting technique, perhaps a technique very specific to take on the Hulk. Also, Wong had been training with Abomination, so he himself has a tiny bit of experience, or Hulk adjacent experience. Maybe he taught some of that to Shang-Chi, but he also does know that Shang-Chi can fight, and he could probably teach Spider-Man some really cool moves. I do hope they incorporate that in some way, shape, or form. Again, that is not confirmed by any means right now, but it is something that I think would be really cool. But go ahead and let me know your thoughts about this in the comments down below. Please don't forget to like this video and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the latest Marvel news, rumors, or leaks. You can find us on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and Snapchat. And as always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.